Welcome to the Epicvishin podcast. I'm your host, Jojo Hayfron, and joining us today is none other than Caroline Coates. How are you doing, Caroline?
I'm good. The sun's shining for once. What's not to be happy about?
Yeah. How's your day been?
All right. Just lots of bits today. Bit of
Yeah.
illustration, bit of project planning, bit of prep, and far too many emails.
Okay. Well, you are an illustrator, artist, creative producer, craft tutor, and community artist. We connected during the Tulips of Ashton project. Let's dive into your journey and your background for a minute. So, how did you first get into illustration?
I've always loved drawing. It was always my happy place as a kid. Undiagnosed dyslexic at school, not surprising. But yeah, always happiest with a pencil in my hand.
Oh, that's nice. So, your role as a community artist, how does that shape your practice?
So I think for me it started when I was at university, studying illustration.
Yeah.
I was flagged by the university by their winding participation team as somebody who was likely to drop out. So it's like dyslexic, working class background, single parent family. They were
Yeah.
like, "You've come up as our radar as someone who got here but isn't likely to finish the course."
Yeah.
Lovely intro. But this amazing lady sat me down and went, what would be the reason you drop out of uni? And I was like, straight away, money. Like, that would be the reason that I can't be here. So she said, well, you can obviously talk. We're doing a project where we're sending people into schools in areas that wouldn't traditionally have kids go on to higher education to run from projects to basically promote education as an option for everybody. And yeah, while I was studying, I realised quite quickly that much preferred the time I was in the local community centre in the local schools, working with people and helping them create art, than I ever was sat on my own
And what
making
age was
just
this?
art by myself.
What age was this?
What age was this? So I think the first time I ever walked into a classroom was 19.
Oh, cool. You realized that early then. That's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
So absolutely. So for me, it was like I knew I preferred working with other people to create art
Yeah.
and help facilitate that
Yeah.
than just being sat on my own. Don't get me wrong, love it the occasional day where I do get to focus on my own art, but my
Yeah.
priority has always been s- working with others and seeing their reactions.
Yeah.
After university, I did spend about a decade in more arts management jobs, so local authority arts development and Arts Council England, which was a really good background in kind of how things are funded, a more
Yeah.
strategic view, but it's not as much fun as the hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the tulip for a second, you painted one of the tulips, two actually. You painted two. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I saw your name on two tulips and I went, wow. Caroline Coates on two tulips. So how did that come about? And I saw you worked on one of the tulips with one organization, and I think you did one on your own, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I was very fortunate to have two tulips. I was involved in Hats Off to Denton,
Okay.
run a couple of years ago by Tameside Council, and I've done quite a few sculptures now. I'll be honest, I lost track at about 50.
Oh, wow. That's
So I
impressive.
think that's why I managed to blag two, is just sheer numbers. So one of the tulips I've created was with an amazing LGBT plus youth group based in Ashton called Out Loud, part of Tameside's youth service,
Yeah.
who are the most incredible, creative, warm, lovely group of young people,
Mm.
who I'd actually had I've been fortunate enough to work with before. So last year I was doing a large scale mosaic project with youth groups across Tameside, and that was one of the groups. So when I first heard about this project and the groups were interested, I heard that Out Loud were one of the groups, and I was like, me, please let me work with those amazing young people again. Don't give that to another artist. I want that one.
Yeah.
So not really surprisingly, they went very much along the Pride theme for their tulip. So it is the bright rainbow.
Yeah.
They obviously wanted to explore gender as well. So if you look at the base of that tulip, it's got all the little gender symbols,
Mhm.
as well as a fabulous little queen bee hidden on there if you look hard enough.
That's cool. What about the other one, the blue tulip that you worked on by yourself?
So the other tulip, I think that was I was very fortunate that I was allowed to kind of take forward an idea of my own.
Yeah.
So for me, Tameside and Ashton has always been kind of central. I don't live in the area, but it's always been kind of a place that I come back to. So my mum was born in Ashton. I grew up in Sheffield and now I'm in Manchester. So there's lots of transitioning through the Tameside area. So for me, that kind of link with urban and then the ruralness of Derbyshire in the Peak District and it being that kind of window and that gateway out into the countryside has always been something that's drawn me to the area. So my earliest memories of Ashton were on my dad's narrowboat coming in through the canal
Okay.
around Portland Basin. So it is,
Yeah.
for me, it's that travel and how people kind of travel in and out of this urban space. So I wanted to reflect that in the design. So at the base, you've got kind of the more historical buildings of Ashton, the old markets,
Yeah.
Portland Basin, etc. And then as you go up, I like to think that you're following the birds depicted on there and kind of flying out into the countryside and back again.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of your roots in Tameside and all of that, this is something I've talked about with other artists on the show, with everything centralized in Manchester. I'm talking art, where all the big events and all the big exhibitions seem to be in central Manchester. Do you see a shift happening, or do you see more things happening now on the outskirts in places like Tameside? Now, do you see more artistic groups forming?
That's a really interesting question, and I'll be honest, it's not the one I thought of before. I mean, being a freelance artist trying to make a living, I
Yeah.
work all over Greater
Yeah.
Manchester. But now you say it, I don't actually work much in the centre of Manchester. I feel like
Right.
more I do laps of the M60.
Yeah.
What I have absolutely noticed is in particularly the east side of Greater Manchester, kind of, but Tameside, Oldham, and Stockport is more activity in
Yeah.
those areas, definitely.
That's cool. How do you balance how do you balance digital versus traditional techniques?
Digital and traditional.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I go too much into digital. Um, though with my illustration work, I use a dip pen and ink. The
Oh, wow,
older
that's
the
cool.
nib, the better. I like a little bit of splat. I
Yeah.
don't like a nib that's too neat.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for me, it's that very analog kind of splodgy accidents will happen. Ink,
Mhm.
I'm very obsessed by line quality. But then I do all the colour digitally.
Okay.
And for me, that's more about I want to focus on line rather than colour. So it kind of speeds it up a little bit for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to think of digital simply as a tool.
Mhm.
And like a lot of illustrators, when it's getting close to the AI, I'm out of here.
I agree with you on that one. Yeah, because so from what I understand, you only use the digital to speed up your workflow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. For me as well, because, illustrations, I tend to be doing them for some kind of print, whether that's leaflets, whether that's a poster, whether it's a large mural, because it's going to be printed as well. It helps with that transition from a loose bit of paper in my studio to something that's digitally ready to be printed as well.
Right. Let's dive into your craft tutoring. What kind of workshops do you do?
So I would definitely say I'm a bit of a craft junkie. Like I get with, I think like a lot of creatives, the attention span isn't brilliant, and I do kind of like, oh, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I also found very early on doing the community art that craft sometimes is easier to engage people than traditional drawing and painting. You know, we've all had that kind of blank canvas going scared moment. And I think for people new to art, that can be more so. Whereas craft, it's make one of these, which is some ways is a bit more accessible. So I think that's what's kind of taken me into the crafty world. And I just, if I've been doing something for too long, I want to be doing something else. I mean, I love mosaics, but last year, after doing 9 large mosaic panels, I'll be honest, I want a break in doing something else. Can I spend a bit of time crocheting or printmaking?
Yeah, that makes you very multidisciplinary, I would say. Yeah.
I think so. There are some I can't do, like pottery. I can't do clay. Honestly, I don't know what me and clay we don't get on. But I like to try most things, and I think as an educator, it's really important to put yourself in the place of a student as well. So once a year, I'll always go and do some kind of course to put myself back in that pupil mindset so I can experience not only that kind of fear of something new, but also kind of see other ways of teaching.
Yeah, that's really good because it's I think it's very important for artists to broaden their horizon and to keep learning. And that is something that I feel like a lot of artists can learn from, to
Oh, I wish there was more time. I've got a list of about 5 workshops I want to do at the moment.
anything you want to share, you can feel free and share it with us because we like the inside scoop on everything.
Well, I mean, next month I'm going to go learn how to make my own dress. I mean, I know a sewing machine as far as putting community art banners together. Like I can do loads of straight lines, but
Yeah.
actually following a pattern and rules is a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see whether it's wearable at the end.
Yeah. I'm sure it will be. So, what are some standout moments that you've had through your teaching, or like where you feel you've made a real impact on someone through your workshops or
Um,
teaching?
I think for me, you won't always see the real impact, and some of it is, especially I do a lot of work in kind of schools and youth settings, and I don't think it's a case of one person will kind of necessarily make all the difference, but all those good experiences and those little bits of trying different art forms, it's that accumulative effect that I think really makes a difference.
Yeah.
However, there have been a couple of moments I've gone, oh, look, I helped do that. So I think the first project I ever did for university was working in a secondary school in Preston,
Okay.
which, dread to think what kind of stuff I was teaching or how I was, because I was so young and nervous. But 12 years after that, I found myself in a networking event in the centre of Manchester, and this young man came up to me and went, "You're Caroline, aren't you?" And I was like, "Do I know you, strange young man who's come up to me?" And then he then explained he was in that first group that he ever taught. And apparently, I'd said something to him on the lines of, if you're not, if school isn't right for you, don't worry, you can be whoever you want at college. And he'd taken that and he'd gone to college remembering those rules. And now now he's an illustrator working internationally and doing
Oh, cool.
absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
for him to, come up to me
He still remembers
years
that.
later, remember
Yeah.
me and say thank you was, incredible.
Yeah, yeah,
Another one was just a lady came to one of my crochet workshops. She didn't want to learn crochet. She'd been dragged there by a friend. She'd lost a parent and was going through a tough time. And a
right.
friend had literally gone, "You need to get out the house. You're
Yeah,
coming with me to this." I'll be honest, I don't remember that particular class. But again, 10 years later, I bump into her and she goes, "Hang on, did you used to teach crochet at this venue?" I was like, "Yes." She then pulls up her website. She now has this fair trade company with ladies in India making the most intricate, gorgeous, organic crocheted garments.
that's so cool.
Stuff that I would not have a clue how to make. But just by just by going on that little taster session, it's
Yeah,
literally changed her whole career.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I bet that feels so fulfilling as well, because there are certain
Do you
things
know
that
what?
you can't
Sometimes it's like
quantify.
it it feels better that you've helped someone else do that than if I'd done it myself.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next for you? Any new
Uh,
projects, any collabs, any dream projects?
I don't know. I don't think there's any dream as such because I like what I do, to be
Yeah.
honest. I'm quite happy doing this. I mean, don't get me wrong, we'd all like it to pay a bit better, but
Yeah.
it's great fun. I think I do enjoy big things. So last year I did a couple of really large scale things, including a railway bridge in South Manchester, which was the biggest thing I've ever
Right.
created. So I'm on the lookout for more big things.
Yeah.
I'd like to do more kind of heritage projects. I think from my illustration background, and combining it with community art, anything that where I'm able to tell people's stories or the story of a place, that sort of thing always interests me.
Yeah.
What have I got coming up? I've got a lot of youth work projects coming up, looking at kind of mental health with young people and how to express themselves with visual art. So that's always fun. At the
Yeah.
moment, I'm illustrating a map for a nature reserve, so I get to sit down and draw cute animals. So what's not to love about that?
I love your animals, by the way. I,
Thank you.
they're so cool. And I think I sent you a message on Instagram telling you the first one I saw was the frog. I saw the frog. I said that's so cute.
It's a strange claim to fame when you could say I've painted more giant frogs than anyone else. Not claim to fame.
That's so cool. How do you see community art evolving?
I mean, I've been around community art for over 25 years, and in some ways it's always evolving, but in some ways it just stays the same.
Yeah.
Things go in cycles as well. What I've noticed over the last few years, I think since the pandemic, there's more of an understanding about how arts can support people's mental health.
Okay.
And that's really nice.
Yeah.
I think the struggles that I'm seeing at the moment are, I think people are putting more pressure on them to create something perfect because they're
True.
seeing things digitally and kind of things that aren't even real and
Yeah.
expecting, come to a workshop and go, I can produce that. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, that's not real. And we
Yeah.
need to stop looking at Pinterest and
Mhm.
stuff. We need to focus on actually, the joy of making and not necessarily will it look good on the grid at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there is that. There's always funding for community art is always a worry.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I mean, I think income for artists over the last 10, 15 years just really has not matched
Mhm.
the cost of living at
Yeah.
all. So it's difficult times, but I do think the acknowledgement of what art can do for mental health, as I say, has definitely improved. What I'd love to see is almost a backlash to AI now, and people go, do you know what? Actually, I want handmade again. I want
Yeah. Yeah.
handcrafted, and that's what I'm hopeful for.
I think I see a shift in there as well because I see more people going for more handmade stuff, more people preferring like real life experiences like workshops, like the workshops you do and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going around in circles really, like everything is going back to how it was. And I mean, AI is not going to go away anytime soon. And I think we should use it for what it should be used for, and let artists create the art, you know. Anyway, we'll go to the rapid fire round right now. I don't know if
Oh, come on. All
ever
right.
seen
I'm going to let me prepare myself. Come on, hit me.
favorite material.
Favorite material depends what I'm doing.
Yeah,
If favorite material for drawing, ink, for painting, acrylic,
I'm with
for
you on that one.
craft. For craft, I'm still obsessed with Jesmonite, the eco resin. Absolutely
Right,
love that stuff. So
right.
yeah, depends what it's for, but those are my three obsessions.
Nice one. Dream collaboration.
Dream collaboration. I don't have a dream collaboration because you don't know whether somebody's going to be, what ideas you're going to have with
Yeah,
somebody until you start that process.
yeah,
So
okay.
my dream collaboration is always the next one, I think.
All right. A piece of advice for aspiring artists.
Two pieces. First, practice, 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 practice. Like literally, there's no shortcuts. To find your own style, to improve your craft, you've just got to put the hours in. The second is tell as many people as possible what you want. You
Hmm.
don't know where those opportunities are going to go through. You don't know which person can open the door for you. So just let as many people as possible know about you and your art.
Brilliant. Thank you again, Caroline. Thank you for making time, and I hope I see you again soon, this time in real life, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. We need some kind of tulip party.
Yeah, I know. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. Let people know where they can find your work.
My tulips, the tulip is outside Tameside 1 on the mezzanine,
Yeah,
just next to the library
yeah,
and market. And the pride tulip is kind of the far side
yeah,
of Ashton. It's not hard to kind of Google and find a map for all of them.
yeah.
In the Tameside area, I've got workshops coming up for teens at Ashton Library, and also for adults at Denton West End Community Library.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And
Thank
this
you.
has been the Epicvishin podcast. See you guys. Stay safe out there and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
From my penmanship, rearrange the game. It's time to change the leadership. Man, it's been a couple years since I've been leading this. Used to walk down Northern Quarter just to get the stage. Can't believe the shows we did, we left them all amazed. My life a maze, trying to find a way out. Man, I struggle for the gains, time to put the work out. All I talk about is money, yeah, I love a payout. Remember, I was no one, now discussions about booking fees. Put myself on, nobody showed me how to get the keys. Now I got it locked, everybody want a piece of me.